You want to change your life? Start by changing your language. That's right. Your world isn't just shaped by what happens to you, but by the words you use to describe what happens to you. Your words are not just sounds, they are commands to your nervous system. They are the architecture of your beliefs, your emotions, your reality. Most people don't realize the power their vocabulary holds. They walk around saying things like, "I'm stuck," "I'm overwhelmed," "I can't handle this," and then they wonder why they feel powerless. What they're really doing is reinforcing a mental prison with words. They're building walls with every sentence they speak. The truth is, your words either build you up or break you down. There is no neutral. Every time you speak, you're creating a future, consciously or unconsciously. You see, language is more than communication, it's transformation. You can take the same situation, same challenge, same setback, and give it a different name, and suddenly your experience of it changes. Instead of saying, "This is a disaster," what if you said, "This is a challenge, an opportunity to grow"? Instead of saying, "I'm exhausted," what if you said, "I'm recharging," or "I'm getting ready for my next level"? The moment you upgrade your language, you upgrade your emotional state. And when your emotional state changes, so does your ability to act. Here's the key: your body follows your words. If you speak in terms of defeat, your posture slumps, your energy dips, and your focus shrinks. But when you speak in terms of victory, of strength, of resilience, your chest lifts, your energy rises, your clarity sharpens. Your language drives your physiology, and your physiology drives your results. You don't need to fake positivity, you need to speak possibility. That doesn't mean ignoring reality, it means framing reality in a way that empowers you instead of crippling you. Words like "I'm learning," "I'm adapting," "I'm preparing" are 10 times more powerful than "I'm failing." "I'm hopeless" or "I'm done." You get to choose the script, and the script you choose becomes the movie you live. So what do you do starting today? Audit your language, catch yourself, rewrite the narrative. Replace disempowering words with ones that give you strength. Change "I'm lost" to "I'm exploring." Change "I have to" into "I get to." Small shifts in language create massive shifts in mindset. Your life will never outgrow your language. If you want a bigger life, speak in a bigger way. If you want transformation, it starts with the words you whisper to yourself when no one's listening. Speak powerfully, speak intentionally, and watch your world change, because it always does. Your language shapes your reality in ways far more profound than most people realize. Every single day, we speak thousands of words, internally and externally, and those words are not neutral. They are packed with meaning, emotion, and instruction. When you say, "I'm overwhelmed," you're not just describing how you feel, you're commanding your nervous system to respond with stress, fatigue, and mental fog. You're programming your subconscious to believe that you're out of control. But if you say, "I'm challenged, but I'm figuring it out," you shift your brain from survival to strategy. That single change in wording redirects your focus from problems to solutions, from fear to power. Language is the lens through which we experience the world. Two people can face the exact same situation and experience it completely differently based on the words they attach to it. One might say, "This is the end," while the other says, "This is the beginning of something new." Same event, completely different realities. Why? Because the words we choose frame our perception. They determine whether we see opportunity or disaster, whether we feel capable or crushed. It's not the circumstance that defines the outcome. It's the story we tell ourselves about the circumstance, and that story is told through language. What most people don't understand is that language is not just reactive, it's generative. It doesn't just describe your world, it creates it. If you continually speak about limitations, you reinforce those limitations. If you talk about fear, you feel more fear. But if you speak about courage, growth, and strength, even in the face of adversity, you begin to embody those qualities. You begin to act like someone who overcomes. Your identity starts to shift. This isn't fake or delusional, it's strategic. You're training your mind to see possibilities where it used to see problems. You're rewiring your thought patterns through your vocabulary. When you consistently use empowering language, you build a new identity, And once your identity starts to change, so does your behavior, your energy, your relationships, your entire life. That's how powerful language is. It's not just a communication tool, it's a creation tool. The words you speak are the blueprint of the life you're building. If that blueprint is built with scarcity, fear, and limitation, your life will reflect that. But if it's built with vision, strength, and purpose, your world will expand. So if you want to change your life, don't just set goals, don't just work harder, start with the most foundational shift. Change the way you speak. Because when you change your words, you don't just change how you feel, you change how you live. Emotional states don't just arise randomly, they are deeply influenced by the words we use. Every word you speak carries emotional weight, and those words have the power to either elevate or exhaust you. The truth is, your language is one of the most powerful levers you have to shift your emotional state in an instant. When someone says, "I'm devastated," they feel that devastation in their body, their shoulders slump, their breath shortens, and their energy collapses. But if they say, "I'm disappointed, but I'll bounce back," even though the situation hasn't changed, the emotional intensity dramatically reduces. That's the power of vocabulary. It determines how you feel and how you move forward. Your words send signals to your nervous system. They tell your brain what kind of chemicals to release, stress hormones or calming neurotransmitters. When you say, "I'm terrified," your body prepares for a threat. Your heart rate increases, adrenaline floods your system, and you enter fight or flight mode. But when you say, "I'm feeling stretched and I'm ready to grow," your body responds with focus and resilience. The same scenario can lead to completely different internal responses, depending on the words you use to interpret it. Think about the words people use casually, not realizing the emotional damage they cause. Someone says, "I'm broken," or "I'm a failure." These are not just labels, they are emotional triggers that reinforce defeat and hopelessness. And once those words become part of your identity, they create a loop of negative emotions and poor decisions. But if you shift the language, even slightly, you shift the emotional tone. Instead of "I'm a failure," try "I haven't succeeded yet." That tiny change brings hope, possibility, and momentum. It keeps the door open, and that openness is critical to emotional strength. This isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about reclaiming your power in how you experience pain, challenge, and growth. Your emotions follow your focus, and your focus follows your words. When you describe a tough day as brutal or the worst ever, your emotions intensify. But if you describe it as a test or a sharpening moment, you begin to frame the hardship in a way that empowers you rather than weakens you. Over time, the language you habitually use becomes your emotional baseline. If your vocabulary is filled with stress-laden, catastrophic words, you'll live in a constant state of emotional exhaustion. But if your daily language includes words of strength, hope, and progress, you'll live in a more energized and empowered state. The difference in your emotional quality of life is massive. So, if you want to master your emotions, start with your language. Speak in a way that uplifts your spirit. Use words that ignite action, not apathy. When you change your vocabulary, you change how you feel. And when you change how you feel, you change how you show up in the world. Conscious language creates transformation because it brings intention and awareness into your internal dialogue and external communication. Most people speak on autopilot, using words they've picked up from society, family, or past experiences without ever stopping to consider the impact those words have on their mindset and behavior. But once you start choosing your language with purpose, everything changes. You shift from being a passive responder to life into someone who actively designs their reality. The words you speak begin to reflect who you want to become, not just who you've been. When you consciously choose empowering words, you train your brain to see the world through a different lens. Let's say you used to say, "I'm stuck." That word shuts down options. It signals to your brain that there's no way out, no move to make, no growth ahead. But what if you replaced that with, "I'm recalibrating," or I'm in transition, suddenly your mind doesn't shut down, it starts searching. It looks for new pathways. That's how transformation begins, with one conscious decision to use a more empowering word. This applies to how you speak to others as well. When you're mindful with your language, your relationships shift. Instead of reacting with blame or judgment, you start choosing words that invite connection, understanding, and solutions. You stop saying things like, "You always do this," and start saying, "Let's figure this out together." That shift changes the tone, the energy, and ultimately the outcome. People respond differently to you, not because they've changed, but because you have changed the language that frames your interactions. Transformation also happens internally. Your identity, the way you see yourself, is shaped by the words you repeat. If you constantly say things like, "I'm just not confident," or "I'm bad at this," you're reinforcing limitations. But if you make a conscious choice to shift that narrative to say, "I'm learning confidence," or "I'm improving every day," you begin to break the old patterns. Your words create a new internal story, and that story fuels new behaviors, new habits, and eventually, a new version of you. The most powerful changes in life often don't start with massive external action. They start with small internal shifts, and the first shift is often a word. One upgraded phrase, repeated consistently, can rewrite the way you think, feel, and act. That's not theory, that's the foundation of transformation. You can literally speak your future into existence, not by magic, but by conscious repetition of language that aligns with who you want to become. So if you want transformation, don't wait for a big event or perfect moment. Start now, start with your words, choose them wisely, speak possibility, speak purpose, speak power, because when you speak with intention, you lead yourself toward change. And when your words align with your vision, the world around you begins to shift in response. Change your language and your life will follow. That's how transformation becomes inevitable,